just trying to change the world here, people.
Oh, really?
The Facebooking and the tweeting and the Instagramming, all that would not exist without our understanding of science.
So it's amazing how you do that as an insult.
You mean true for you is different from true for anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely, because I can't
prove either got to be true or not.
I can't, no.
Hello, this is Candace the Goblin, and you're listening to ORly Radio Podcast. It's where people talk about stuff. Sometimes it even matters. You're already here, so you might as well stick around. Enjoy.
Who the? Okay, well, whatever. Welcome to ORly Radio Show 87. Friday, yeah, it's Friday, December 11th, 2015, where we dismantle the current events for your edutainment through mostly rational conversations that make you go, oh, really? I'm your host, Andy Cowen, with my usual suspect, David O'Connor, and special guest, Fred Sims. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello.
Sorry about the interruption there by Gandersnitch the Goblin. Apparently, we've been bought. Briefly, at least, for the Kickstarter. He is actually sponsoring this week's show. So get out there and go take a look at his Kickstarter. It's pretty cool. I'll show you.
What's the Kickstarter for?
It's a Kickstarter for a card game.
Interesting.
Called Hogswallow. Of course, it'd be perfect for a goblin storyteller like Gandersnitch. It's very funny. If you're creative, you should like it. If you're not creative, then you probably won't do anything with it. So if you like it, go take a look. It's Kickstarter.com. Well, wow, that's a really long thing. I think it's hogswallow. You know what? I'll find the link, and you can find the link too in our show notes at ORlyRadio.com. That's ORlyRadio.com. And let's see. Oh, yes. Errata. We do make mistakes. If you find one, pause the podcast. Do it right then, immediately, if not sooner. And send us a note to ORlyRadioPodcast@gmail.com or phone it in at 470-222-6759. That's ORLY if you're so inclined. Last week, when Ophelia and I were chatting about Jim Baker and his buckets of grub that he's trying to sell the grandparents out there that are concerned about eating their babies, their grandbabies and things like that. Well, I thought that Tammy Faye was sitting next to Jim because she looked an awful lot like Tammy Faye, but apparently Tammy Faye has been dead for several years. She did, however, divorce Jim Baker while he was in prison, and then apparently died of cancer. Rest her soul. However, apparently Jim just has a type, and that type is the kind that looks like Tammy Faye Baker. Take that.
Stranger things have happened.
Yes, and
sure.
And that was pointed out by one of our listeners and friends of the show, Andrew Duncan of the Kentucky Fried Free Thought podcast. He did one of our logical fallacy segments. So, and I think he has a couple more too, but they're in the can. I haven't quite processed everything. I've been a bad editor. I'm terribly sorry for all that. Eventually I'll get to them. Thank you very much for participating in the show in every way that you can. And of course, there are other ways to participate in the show. We do have an IRC chat also available on our website that you can take a look at the show with the live cast right there, and there's the chat right there. All free. You don't even need a real username, no weird login or anything like that. You just pick a username, sign in, and you talk to us. Isn't that fabulous? Pretty easy. Free. It's all on the website. I'm sorry that it's in Flash, but oh look, it's free. It's free for me too. That's the best part about it for me. So again, if you find anything mistaken that we say, go ahead and send that over to us at ORlyRadioPodcast@gmail.com, 470-222-6759. We also take text messages, SMS. Standard data rates may apply. And send those over to us. And if you leave us a voicemail, I will play it on the air. So far, nobody except me. And but no, David, you did it once too. When you couldn't make the show, you sent us in a voicemail. So yes,
did.
I do have the capability of doing this. I will do it. I promise you. And let's see, what else? Ah, yes, rant segments. So, Jimmy Carter already had cancer. Already was going to die. But it turns out, at least more recently, that his cancer has gone into remission. They have not found any bits of it, any of the brain cancer they had, and he is going to live for as long as a 90-something-year-old man that continues to go out and build houses for for humanity is going to live. So,
He's an awesome fellow. Well, this is great news.
yes, absolutely. He's done. I don't care what you thought of him about giving away Panama or anything like that. My parents hate Jimmy Carter for doing that and things like that. But really, he's been just a gem of a human being in everything that he's done. So
Now that he is cancer-free, I'm curious to know what he thinks about being compared to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
In that he has become the poster child for banning people from our country.
that was brought up. Yeah, that was brought up, wasn't it? And do you remember the context that was brought up?
Absolutely, I do. They brought up the fact that in the Iranian hostage crisis back in, believe it was 1979 to 1981, he didn't necessarily ban people, but proposed sanctions on Iranians obtaining visas, and Iranians that were currently in the country had to make sure that their visas were valid. If not, they were then deported. Totally different than a ban on a religion and not allowing any Muslim from anywhere in the world to come in. More a sweeping sanction to pressure Iran into stepping out from behind the terrorists that had those hostages and really, taking full credit for what was going on over there.
I cannot find the meme.
I don't think that he would necessarily like being compared to Donald Trump. I think I can be pretty safe in that assessment.
I think you can be safe in that assessment with just about any politician alive today, save for maybe Ted Cruz, who's been really angling for that VP spot under Trump's reign.
Jeez, I hadn't even really considered who might end up being Trump's vice president.
Ivanka. So apparently he can date her.
I
Wow.
kind of assumed he would clone himself, and it would just be Trump. And I mean, just the slogans alone, I trumped America. I mean, there's so many great possibilities if he just clones himself, but everything's in reverse. So I want that hair swatch to go the other way on the clone.
He does have a son.
For balance purposes.
And that dude is creepy looking. That Purge meme is ridiculous.
There's a Purge meme about his kid.
It's him and his son in a picture, and it says Donald Trump and his son look like the kind of people who go purging.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
The probably the most accurate meme to come out of this whole mess is if Trump becomes president, there will be hell to pay.
Well,
As in toupee on the head.
Oh,
Wow.
oh dear, I've been done in by the puns.
Punning.
Oh, it's so punny. It's so very punny. I apologize if I seem a little out of it because I am. I'm a little sick and I've been self-medicating. So I'm going to. I may slur some words. I may not really be all here, but I'm going to have some fun, and it'll be great. And I have ow. There's a cat. Hi. Oh, by the way, for our audio-only listeners out there, we do also have a YouTube channel, so you too can see all the crazy antics that happen here on the ORly Radio Show. Like, I now have a shoulder cat. Thank you. Ow. What are you doing? Okay, ow.
He's reinforcing your need for leather armor.
Must be. Do I need leather armor?
You do with that cat, apparently.
When did that have to happen? Oh, just now, I guess.
don't know.
Well,
When was the last time you clipped his claws?
They're clipped. He's really just digging in. You don't have to use your teeth. I mean, really. Oh, now you're just pleased with yourself.
You don't clip Sprocket's claws. He clips yours.
This is not Soviet Russia.
Soviet Russia.
Yeah,
Cat clips your claws.
Your cat clips your own claws, yes.
You're having mail.
Okay. So, with that little interruption, Mr. Sims, you are new to the show. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Mr. Sims. If I had to describe myself, I guess I would describe myself as a radical Republican Christian fundamentalist who firmly believes all fetuses should have automatic handguns to ward off abortion. If other people had to describe me, they would describe me as a liar.
Okay.
Good introduction.
Mainly, I listen to the show. I think it's amazing. I wanted to contribute in some way, and I asked Andy if I could, and he said, sure, why not? So here I am.
And just to kick it up an awkward notch, he's actually he's the boyfriend of my ex-wife. So I'm a very forgiving and kind and benevolent person.
Literally the most patient and nice person ever.
Or at least that's the personification that I apparently give off. Man, have I got these people snowed. That's amazing.
Snowed, I tell you. Snowed in.
That or it's real, and I am actually terribly modest and don't like taking compliments and things like that. So that's always possible too. All right, so speaking of things that don't exactly exist or have evidence for them, apparently we do not live in a hologram. Fermilab, which is one of those major science industrial complexes that money just pours into and amazing ideas pop out of, Fermilab experiments find no evidence that we actually live in a hologram. We spoke at length about this many, many moons ago, about how possibly the universe is actually just a big hologram.
Now we'll never meet Mr. Data and Mr. LaForge.
Well, we could, but I think you have to go to a convention for that.
And they proved... Oh, no, I mean, they proved, like, conclusively, because if we go to the convention and they're sitting there, how do we know that's not just parts they're playing in that holodeck?
No.
It's very meta.
It's super meta.
It's just like the justification for the flying spaghetti monster, who actively modifies the evidence that is seen. So the evidence that the flying spaghetti monster doesn't exist is actually evidence that the flying spaghetti monster doesn't exist because he modified it. The evidence.
Isn't that all religion? I'm pretty sure Jesus does that too.
It's possible.
Jesus doesn't have noodly appendages. He's just got 2 arms, 2 legs, and
yeah, but one time Jesus was on my toast, and spaghetti is only ever on bread.
Do you know how much fucking spaghetti I've had?
He boiled for your sins. That's all I have to say.
He gave us cheeses.
I have been touched by his noodly appendage. Yes.
He gave us cheeses.
Jesus Christ.
I'll back the spaghetti monster on that one.
Anyway, back to Fermilab. The controversial experiment at Fermilab, designed to hunt for signs that our universe may really be a hologram, has failed to find evidence that it was seeking. It's called the holometer. Holographic interferometer. We actually spoke of this in the last show, but it wasn't in that we didn't or did we discuss this exactly? Now I don't remember.
I don't think you were discussing this particularly. I think it was used for something else.
Yeah, the product was used for something else. Now I'm going to have to go and look back at my own show and figure out what the heck we were talking about, because I remember this picture, because there's a picture of apparently the holometer with the technician laying on his side in an awkward position, because scientists do have to do that. It's just one of those things. You know, you get dirty. You get dirty for science. And that's odd. As we continue to scroll down through, which you can find these links in our show notes at ORlyRadio.com, there's another picture of some of the scientists looking at screens with crazy glasses on their faces. They don't look like 3D glasses. They look just like they're expecting lasers to pop out at them at any moment. Which I suppose at Fermilab is possible.
Well, the holometer does use a pair of laser interferometers? Interferometers. Apologize, not being able to read a simple word.
Don't worry. We mispronounce things on this show all the time. It's our shtick.
Those lasers are placed close to one another, each sending a 1 kilowatt beam of light through a beam splitter and down 2 perpendicular arms 40 meters each. It's then reflected back into the beam splitter where the two beams recombine. So maybe in what they're looking at, they need those glasses?
Possibly, I don't know. Apparently this experiment cost $2.5 million. That's an expensive experiment to figure out that, no, we do not in fact live in a hologram. But there are still people out there that also think that we didn't go to the moon. That, let's see, how many people were involved in the JFK assassination?
Lots. And then there's also the
one guy.
One guy. Really, one. Yeah.
I am here to bring your conspiracy theories up a notch. In that, you remember that iconic picture?
I need a drop for when we go with the tinfoil hat. I need a tinfoil hat drop. So anybody out in the audience that wants to send me something, please do it at our email address, ORly Radio.
Oh, we're gonna drop some tinfoil hat right here because this is amazing. That iconic Nat Geo photo of the woman's she's Iraqi or Syrian or something like that, and she's staring at the cameraman who's taking the picture of her.
The one with the blue eyes?
The multicolor eyes.
Right.
Yeah. There's a conspiracy theory that is not a real human being, and that is in fact a doll. Which was
went and saw her years and years later, and she has the same freaking eyes.
Oh no, there are people who are adamant that is not an actual human being. The light doesn't reflect off of eyes in that way. This here is not a human feature. Those eyes must be made of glass. Yeah.
Are people really just this bored?
You could be a real human being and have two glass eyes. It's possible.
That's true. They could be glass eyes.
I mean, I don't want to completely destroy their tinfoil hat, but she could have two fake eyes.
No, she doesn't have two fake eyes.
No, she doesn't.
And especially in the part of the world that she lives in, she probably ain't going to get two glass eyes, even if she needed them.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Given what they do to people that they toss acid on, which, speaking of conspiracy theories here, okay, I've seen all these acid splash victims, and I understand that it is a horrible thing, but why are there so many people with access to that much acid? I mean, just randomly. I mean, because it's not like that's their business, like, renowned muriatic acid salesman, insert Arabic name that I don't want to be, racial profiling here. It's why is there so much acid just lying about in the houses in the Middle East? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I can get my hands on a cleaner in the capacity of my job that is for cleaning water spots off of glass. They flat out tell you, this is acid, wear protective gear, it will burn you. Make sure the car is wet, use it in small batches, be very, very careful. I just order it off of a truck that dries up and says, hey, you want this acid? Obviously, we're a little bit different.
Well, that's here in the United States. Of course we have access to this.
And then the car melted and turned into a tentacle monster.
This is not Japan.
And I realized I was not wearing protection while handling this. I was ingesting it.
Now we're in a Japanese anime hologram.
I know, yeah.
With acid baths.
I think the acid that they're talking about, though, that is actually splashed. I mean, it does serious damage. I've had chemical burns, and the kind of acid that you're talking about is essentially just a chemical burn. It's still a low-level acid. This stuff melted off people's noses and, ate through cartilage and all sorts of really horrific.
You gotta think about a couple things, though, in regards to the acid burn is the amount of acid that is utilized in the attack and the availability of medical care. Because if you don't wash that stuff off right away, it just keeps eating.
I was gonna say it will sit and just keep going to work because it's acid and that's all it does.
Yeah, but I imagine that if unless prevented from getting care, frankly, if I have acid splashed on me, the immediate thing I'm going to do is go to any source of water and try to get that off.
That's if you know that that's what you should do in the event of an acid attack.
I suppose ignorance is a great enemy in that.
Middle East medicine.
Lack of education in general.
Yeah, Middle East medicine could literally be you got acid on you, rub some dirt on it, and walk it off. Like it, just middle school mantra all the way.
I kind of doubt that just because one of the things that many Middle Eastern families are very big on is family, and one of the things that the housewife has to know is basic medical care. You got to know basic first aid. Well, one of the basic first aid is, if you have a burn, under hot water. And if it feels like a burn, you're going to run it under, I'm sorry, not hot water, cold water. Why did I say hot water? That'd be horrible. Don't ever do that. Cold water.
Yo, dog, I heard you like burns.
Yeah.
So I burned your face while you were burning your face.
Yeah, let's add more hot water. Hot water, that'll be fantastic. You just splash the entire pot of Taster's Choice right over your head. That'll be fantastic. Go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just as simple as that. Run your burn under hot water, and now everyone is burned beyond repair. Just as simple as that.
What have I done? Oh God! Oh God! Anyway, that's a tangent. So if you know out there that why random households in, say, Saudi Arabia have access to large vats of flesh-eating acid, fast-acting flesh-eating acid, please let us know. Just see why, because that seems like an odd thing. I've had jet fuel burns underneath a watch band, so diesel, and that was horrible. That was really, really bad. But it did not. I still have my wrist. It did not eat through my flesh, but boy, was it an irritant.
My top theory off the top of my head here is they do not have the types of controls on chemicals in those countries that we have here, and a lot of times solvents and whatnot are used as cleaning agents, especially in places where they have a lot of tile or rock flooring, which rock and concrete is somewhat porous a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So in order to keep mold and mildew at bay, they might need a strong solvent to throw down there every once in a while.
I hate autoplay. There we go. I totally did not mean to have something autoplaying in the background. I'm terribly sorry for that.
It didn't really come through, so you're good.
That's good because it was horrible. Anyway. That leads me, however, into the next story, and we have two stories for the price of one. That's two for the price of one. Here in Florida, we have crazy people. So I have a Florida woman and I have a Florida man. First, we'll start with Florida woman, who was apparently, and tragically, let me see if I can find the video that auto played so I can stop it. There it is. There we go. Muted. Okay. Bastards over at Raw Story. No, actually, I'm sorry. I love you, Raw Story. Please, don't ever change. Everything's fine here. A woman attending a world-famous art exhibition put on by Art Basel in Florida was stabbed by a stalker as patrons stood by thinking it was performance art.
Oops.
According to the Miami Herald, the victim was strolling through an exhibit set up inside the Miami Beach Convention Center on Friday night when she noticed another young woman stalking her. After confronting her, the attacker grabbed an X-Acto knife and began stabbing her in the arms and neck. Ow. Ow.
I have an X-Acto knife cut.
Yeah. Ow.
Depends. Those things are so damn sharp, sometimes you don't feel it right away.
I know, but you're going to feel it later.
You do. I can guarantee that.
A slice versus a stab, though, you got to feel that stab. I never want to be stabbed ever.
I'll have to show you my finger later, because you swear that I was trying to hack it off.
Didn't you? I thought you tried.
No, it was purely accidental. I was trying to carve the hull of a rain gutter regatta boat.
Oh, okay.
Because my older brother was carving the hull of his rain gutter regatta boat, and if he can do it, so can I.
Ah, yes. No,
I could not.
Yeah. Obviously, apparently, the evidence suggests no, you can't.
First grade was apparently too soon to start hacking at things with an X-Acto knife, but I
had my first X-Acto knife, but I remember my big sister constantly cautioning me about the dangers of said knife. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I'm living proof that those are sharp.
Yeah. So Miami artist Naomi Fisher, whose exhibits is near where the altercation took place, said people in the area thought they were watching performance art. Quote, "A guy walked up to me and said, 'I thought I saw a performance and I thought it was fake blood, but it was real blood,'" Fisher recounted. After security rushed to the scene, police arrived and secured the area with crime scene tape, leading other attendees to believe it was also part of the show. No.
Not when crime scene tape is involved. What show have you ever seen that they've done that?
You know, and it's stories that like this, where people who think, oh, all we have to do is give everybody guns and we'll be a safer environment. No, it won't.
No, it really won't.
It will not. You are vastly overestimating the ability of people to comprehend what's going on around them.
The sheriff here in Brevard County, where I reside, he has gone on record and on video and is trying to get every citizen armed.
This has been latched onto by Fox News. He is giving interviews now on Fox News. He is spreading this message. Said he wants them all armed. Said he doesn't want them to be vigilantes, but also states that he wants them to essentially see these situations and take things into their own hands.
Which is no. That's
because
not,
what could go wrong?
Yeah. So I see that there's going to be a great need for my new lemonade stand that also serves pitchforks and torches. I think that will be very, very handy in the coming apocalypse, along with the mob scenes that are obviously going to happen because of some small altercation with, say, I don't know, a random stabbing in an art gallery that people think is an art exhibit.
Yep, this is why my New Year's resolution for 2016 is to get Zombie Apocalypse fit.
Nice. And in other news,
do a little parkour.
Parkour is good if you can make sure to stick those landings.
Oh yeah,
because you're going to have a bad time.
It's all about the landings.
It's all about the landings. Preserve that.
When you take a metal pole to the gut, you're not going to have a good time.
It's fine if you take it the long side. If you take it the pointy side, that's the problem.
It's not good either way when you're falling 10 feet.
Oh, it's not.
I was gonna say, it's occasionally about the footing too, because I've seen videos where the foot slips and then you just slam your face into a wall. So, kind of all of the above.
Yeah, all the parkour people out there, they really ought to have really good dental insurance. I think that's a thing that needs to happen. In other news, here in Florida, Florida burglary suspect eaten by alligator after fleeing police.
Oh, yeah.
A 22-year-old man suspected of burglarizing homes in Florida was killed and partially eaten by an 11-foot alligator after he waded into a lake, apparently to avoid detection by law enforcement officers pursuing him. The autopsy on the man, Matthew Riggins of Palm Bay, determined that he drowned in November after an apparent alligator attack. A necropsy of the alligator revealed parts of the man's body in the reptile's stomach, according to a report released this week by the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. By the way, that's the county where I reside.
Yep, they euthanized that gator as well for defending his home.
Well,
but
it's standard practice. If an animal kills a person, the animal dies. I disagree with that. This animal should have been given high honors.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only thing that stops a bad guy that's burgling is a gator.
Is an alligator.
So we should give everybody alligators. Everybody gets an alligator and a gun.
I think there are enough of them in the state of Florida that that's possible.
Oh, yeah.
It's a National Adopt a Gator Week here in Florida. The suspects were caught that Riggins was reported missing by his family when he did not return home, according to the sheriff's report. His body was found 10 days later floating in a lake with an aggressive gator standing guard. That's my kill. You keep what you kill here in Florida.
Was the gator named Riddick?
It should have been. I'm going to call it Riddick from now on. You know, the eyes glow. Their eyes do glow the same way, so that
they do. They're red, actually.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, let's see. And what's this one? Okay, no, that's the one I just put in there. Oh, yes. In other news, you know what? Since I did not break it down into good, bad, and the ugly segments because I'm sick, we're just doing headlines. Sorry, I probably should have mentioned that earlier. I'm going to do a spot for GSOW. Here we go.
Are you annoyed by misinformation spreading like crazy, and you want to stop the flood of nonsense coming from all directions? Go to Wikipedia, as do all those millions out there. Did you know there's an edit button on all Wikipedia articles? Why don't you go and hit that button to start making the world's largest online encyclopedia a more reliable source of information? If you're specifically interested in skeptical topics, come and join us at Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia, an international endeavor to change the world for the better, word by word. There are many ways you can contribute. You just need to start. You speak several languages, all the more reason to join us. We provide training and all the help you need. If you want to make a change, there's a nice community waiting for you out there. Contact us at gsowteam@gmail.com, visit our website, that's guerrillaskeptics.com, or check out the Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia Facebook page.
And for good measure... There we go. Now I feel right back at home. And thank you very much for the 5 viewers out there that are actually watching us live out on YouTube. Thank you very much for participating in this great experiment that we call the ORly Radio Show. Let's see. Pharma Bro, that Martin Skrill guy. He's been on our show more than 15 minutes for his fame, but apparently something else has raised our cockles about him. One, just as a reminder, he's the guy that hiked the price of Daraprim, which was an immunosuppressant drug that was typically prescribed for AIDS and HIV patients. He hiked it 5,000%, making it an untenable kind of price to assign to any medication that is needed for life-saving kind of illnesses. Well, he kind of regrets that he did that, but not for the reason that you may think. Apparently, he thinks in his weird, twisted, super capitalistic mind that he should have raised it higher. That's right. He should have raised it higher. Apparently, market forces were going to bear even more. In a healthcare summit hosted by Forbes on Thursday, Martin Skrill the founder and CEO of Turning Pharmaceuticals, admitted he made a mistake by raising the price of a decades-old drug by more than 5,000%, but not the mistake you might expect. In response to an audience member who asked him if he would have done anything differently in regards to raising the price of the drug, Daraprim Skrull replied, "I probably would have raised the price higher." So during the 25-minute interview, Skrull explained the price hike regret, quote, "I could have raised it higher and made more profits for our shareholders, which is my primary duty." So it's definitely not a humanitarian kind of effort that he has. Big, huge shocker there.
Yeah, it's the only response is to a statement like that is, well, you're not wrong.
Yeah. You're not wrong, but you're certainly not right.
Definitely not.
But you are an asshole.
His douchebaggery knows no bounds. I mean, hindsight is normally 20/20, and he went like 22 million. I don't even understand why. Like, there's no reason to put that out.
He doubled down, like the Republican Party. He doubled down on let's revoke Obamacare. Let's do that again. Let's do that for the 56th time. Let's keep going. One of these days they're going to get tired and they're just going to say, okay, fine. But you tried hard enough.
If you can get in the news for this, or you can get in the news for the other thing he's in the news for, just stick with the other thing.
And that leads us to the second part of the story. You guys, you may have heard of this little band called the Wu-Tang Clan. They were popular for a while, right? You know, I'm not really big on their music. It's not my thing.
I have heard that the Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Just throwing that out there.
I believe that's a direct quote, so I think we can probably maintain our PG-13 rating.
I'll throw up the quotes. I apologize. I'm quoting specifically.
Now, this is out on Bloomberg Business, and of course you can find the links out on our show notes at ORlyRadio.com. It was one of the greatest sales pitches the music industry has ever heard. In March 2014, Robert Diggs, better known as RZA? Yeah,
RZA. Yeah, just RZA.
RZA, RZA, so he's missing a vowel if he really wants to beat RZA. The producer, you can see how hip I am. I am just a square white boy. That's all there is to it. The producer and
He's just a
defective
poor boy from a poor family.
I'm just a poor boy from a poor family. Yeah.
Spare him his life for that atrocity.
That album would be worth $2 million.
Yeah, that would be. This one, not so much. De facto leader of the Wu-Tang Clan, the iconic rap group, announced that the clan would create only one copy of its next album, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, and sell it to the highest bidder. We're about to put out a piece of art like nobody else has done in the history of music, Reza told Forbes. We're making a single sale collector's item. This is like someone having the scepter of an Egyptian king.
Right.
I think that's talking it up pretty big.
Yeah.
To cut to the chase, to make a long story short, yeah, Martin Skrull is the guy that bought it for $2 million. Now, apparently, it doesn't really say it in here, or maybe it does. I have heard that part of the sale of this is that it cannot be shared in any way for 88 years.
They actually do mention it in there. Originally, it couldn't be shared in any way for 88 years, and then they relented, and basically they decided to grant the buyer total freedom to do whatever they want with it, as long as it's not sold commercially. It can be given away free, it can be locked in a room, it can be run over by a truck. They don't care as long as you don't sell it, which probably the wrong guy to sell it to if you don't want someone trying to make a buck off of it.
Yeah, he's not that guy. He's definitely not going to be giving it away. Though, you know what? Actually, I take that back. He might give it away only to try and save some face and make himself a little bit more popular. Like, just to skew the news, because
this guy
overlay the bad is to present more news.
No, I think that this guy is a classic troll. And if this were just his internet persona, he would definitely be trolling. And I feel like this is the type of individual who would take that CD, have a press conference, and say, I'm going to give my CD away. I'm giving my CD away to this shredder.
Oh, jeez.
That
I
or
could-
make copies of it, and I'm giving my CD away, but I'm giving it away with every one of this pill of medicine that you buy at my exorbitantly high amount.
Oh, it's a value add. I see.
So he's not selling the
Or-
CD commercially. He's just giving it away with a pill sold commercially.
Or he'll or do one of those like $10,000 plate dinners, and then give it away to one person at that.
Wow.
One of those events.
So it will go to another too rich white guy who will not appreciate the music wrapped up in this CD.
I think
I think
I'm
it's a
still
full
sticking with my theory that this guy is troll enough to destroy it in front of the entire world.
So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, to see whether or not Martin Skrull does something of that magnitude.
Do you know what would be amazing if if the Wu-Tang Clan knew how big a douche this guy was, took his $2 million, sold him the CD, lets him do the inevitable, I'm going to destroy this for everyone, and then the Wu-Tang Clan gives it out free to everyone.
Releases like a best of kind of album, and all it is that album just repackaged as something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can see Wu-Tang doing that.
That would be amazing, because now they're $2 million richer, and they got one over on Pharma-Bro.
Watch them like leak it to WikiLeaks or something, and WikiLeaks sells it to, well, not sells it, but just gives it over to like Anonymous, and Anonymous releases it as a BitTorrent. I'm not suggesting anything. Okay, maybe I am.
If you're listening, Wu-Tang Clan.
Of course you are, obviously, because this white cracker over here. This is obviously your target market. I am your demographic, right? No, I'm not. But hey,
Totally.
I'm giving you these ideas for free. It's got to be worth something. Maybe not. That's fine. I understand. Let's see. Oh, and in other weird, crazy news, Ben Carson is threatening to leave the GOP. The whole party. He's threatening to leave the party.
For realsies.
Following a report that senior Republican officials met to discuss the party's strategy in the event of a brokered convention. So, David, you brought this to my attention. Would you care to lay it out for us?
So basically, the joke isn't funny anymore, and Trump being the front runner is no longer a funny joke. And now it's like, this guy might actually win our primaries, which is more or less universally understood as something which cannot be allowed. Because A, he owes zero
allegiance
to the party leadership as it stands today, and the way politics kind of works is you work your way up a ladder of basically brown-nosing old white guys to get to those levels and positions of power to where they can give you the nod to be their presidential candidate. And if you don't go up that ladder, you are not well received by that said leadership, which is what that leadership met to discuss, essentially. And the brokered convention, as I understand it, is essentially saying, whatever the vote is, Trump ain't going to be the guy. We're going to discuss now who will be the guy. And it's shitty politics, to be sure, because they would rather sell you on a candidate and then have the people go, oh yeah, that's our guy. Everybody go for him because everybody loves him, versus they're basically doing the veto button on their own primary process.
I see.
It's also funny the way they're going about it, because rather than flat out saying, oh crap, Trump's got a shot and this is bad, the way they're kind of doctoring this is we need to be prepared for any eventuality, acknowledging that they have a clown car and saying, well, I mean, we could have 4 different primary winners of the major primaries. How do we have a legit candidate? And in that case saying, well, we need to be prepared for the eventuality that Trump doesn't win this thing outright, and we need to have these backup plans in place.
Well, that sounds logical. I doubt that.
The story you present to the public versus what's really going on in that private dinner held by the head of the Republican National Committee might be 2 different things occurring.
Yeah, the way I understand it is basically Trump is the wild card in their normal primary process, and they have zero control over this guy, which is not something that they like.
No, it kind of defeats the purpose of even having a party.
Yeah.
He can decide to not pay any attention to the Republican Party platform as a whole.
Yeah. He can ignore the entire Republican Party platform as a whole. He can ignore all of their major shareholders in the form of people who have committed campaign contributions to individual candidates or to the RNC as a whole, to say, yeah, I get a say in your stuff, and he can basically override all of that. They don't want that guy in power. For a variety of reasons, not to mention what he's going to do to the Republican Party. And really, at this point, it's too far along in the process. The damage is done, and he will be. My prediction: he is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and finally splits the GOP into the 2 parties that they've been struggling to become for a while now.
I would like that to happen. I don't know that it will, though.
There are some 68% of the people who are currently behind Trump right now who would still vote for him even if he did not get the nod from the RNC.
Well, that's because it's a vote of no confidence, essentially. They have no confidence whatsoever in the GOP and what they have presented, which is why the wild card is in the front. It's not...
Wild card's in the front for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is he appeals to their base sensibilities, as it were.
Which is bizarre.
The very nice way of saying they're the racist, bigoted, hypocritical, heavy-handed government, warmongering, rage-filled, white, Christian crowd.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I don't know how bizarre that actually is. And if you think about it, for that group, you've been predicting for a while now that, there's going to be a schism and the Republican Party is going to split and they're never going to have an opportunity really to put a strong presidential candidate forward. And those people that believe those things deep down because, well, that's how they grew up, the way they were, the way they've learned things, see one last chance to get the type of guy. Now, he is the most extreme example of their type of guy you could ever find, but he's their last chance because they've got to see the writing on the wall, or they just know they're all going to die in like 5 years anyway. So, let's vote this guy in, and who cares?
I find it really amazing that the voting base that they've been after ever since Nixon, has been the redneck. Just
essentially,
completely blunt, the redneck backwoods person that doesn't want any government intervention. He doesn't want people to take his guns. He wants to be able to discriminate against whoever the hell he wants to discriminate against because reasons. Nothing beyond that. That is essentially the voting base. It is also the poorest economic base that they have. It is the people that actually are on the government dole. They're the ones that are getting the most welfare, statistically. I'm not pulling this out of nowhere. It's there if you choose to look. I am not a font of information. I am merely a pointer. Go look. It's there. The red states absorb more of the welfare money than any of the other states. They are the weakest in that demographic. That is the base that they're catering to. A independent billionaire with all the money is the one that's pandering to the absolute poorest demographic, and they are eating it up.
The least educated among us, essentially.
The most amazing thing about the Republican Party is that they have convinced people to vote against their own self-interest in every way possible.
Oh yeah, especially the military.
Oh yeah.
If you're in the military, the Republican Party will send you to war, but they will not pay another dime.
Yeah, they will not take care of you after
making sure that your medical issues resulted from that war are taken care of, which is the right thing to do because they sent you. Your medical issues are a direct result of what they asked you to do, and you should not hold that sacrifice as your own in its entirety.
I don't think that anybody with a rational mind thinks that we should not take care of veterans because they went out, they served their duty, they did their diligence. If they got hurt in the process, it is a responsibility to take care of them.
Yes, but for one side of the aisle, it's a talking point,
Yeah.
and the other side of the aisle, it's like, yeah, money talks and bullshit walks. And right now, all the left side of the aisle is hearing from the right side of the aisle is bullshit. Because if you're not going to put any money behind it, you're just talking out your ass.
And so far, the Republican Party, even though they may have put the bill forward that, for veteran care, they will vote against it. Every time. Even the
They will
people
defeat it. They will filibuster
that
it.
have written their own bill have filibustered against it. How dysfunctional can a legislating body be? That is just beyond. And yet, they still claim that it's the Democrats' problem, that we're the ones that are preventing them from making any headway.
That's all pure scapegoating.
Yeah.
Total cognitive dissonance. It's, these are the same people that don't realize that everything they ever do, the speeches they give, Ben Carson, when you talk about, silos that used to be pyramids or pyramids that used to be silos, that stuff gets saved and it can be viewed at any time, much like your votes. So when you are putting this legislation out there and then voting it down, anybody can look and be like, wait, why didn't you put that out there? Why did you vote it down? And then they just show you something else over here, like we're all cats. Like, oh, look at this over here. But no, we were talking, no, look at this over here.
But I have a laser pointer and a feather, and you're going to follow the laser pointer and the feather because that's what I've told you to do. And that is unfortunately what the lowest of their voting demographic does, like clockwork.
Well, it's not even the lowest of their voting demographic. It goes all the way up, and I think that's really a testament to just how far cognitive dissonance actually reaches. And I've had people, very smart people, who were, not rich by any means, but they were successful in their own right, owned their own homes, didn't have a ton of debt, good folks. And they come to me with statements about things like Fox News of trust but verify. And it's like, yeah, but you only do half of that.
Yeah.
So if you miss the whole verify thing, then you have provided exactly zero accountability for the times that they lied to you.
Yeah, and
if you continue to listen to them after you've discovered that they've continuously lied to you, then you're just complicit in the lie.
That kind of kills the trust, and now you're not doing either.
Oh no, it doesn't kill the trust. It's blind faith. It is the ultimate in trust.
There are times that I really wish the Electoral College was disbanded, and then there are other times that I think, well, maybe we still need that safeguard after all.
This is definitely an example of a time that not having the Electoral College could lead down a terrible, terrible road as the popularity of a crazy, misogynist bigot grows as he says hateful, ridiculous speech. It would be a bad thing if we didn't have the Electoral College, because there is a chance that he could trump feeling the burn.
Right, but at the same time, there's also the Electoral College handed Bush the win, he did not have the popular vote.
Yeah.
So if we didn't have the Electoral College at that time, we wouldn't have had GW. And imagine the world we live in today without that.
With hindsight, would you go back and change GW, or would you take Trump?
Well, I mean,
because you don't know what Trump will give
can't
you.
win. The Republican Party, as it stands today, cannot win the 2016 election. They have already lost that election.
Oh, I agree. I agree that right now our president is either Hillary or Bernie. It's whoever comes out for the Democrats. I totally agree that that's been decided. But
Yeah.
in that hypothetical of the Electoral College, you're right. It did give the win to George W. But you would have to look at it in like, what would Trump present if it was gone and he won versus what it gave us? So it's like a known versus a terrible, bad unknown.
I would argue against a terrible versus good hypothetical. What I think we should do instead is actually review the elections of past history and look at what are the other instances in history where the Electoral College made the difference over the popular vote, and how did that turn out? That's what I think we should review versus the possible hypothetical, because Trump cannot possibly, without an amazing amount of election fraud, there will not be a GOP president in 2016, probably not in 2020 either. And
would you
who
put
knows?
that past him?
And once we get down that path of Democrat presidents and see how the economy does under them continuously, at some point, how long do you have to go with, we had a small dip, but then we bounced back, and the economy's still humming along. And then we had a small dip, but then we bounced back, and the economy's still humming along, and we still have all our freedoms. How many years of that do you have to go through before you're like, oh, yeah, well, I guess it's not so bad? Why are we going to change this gear?
An article that I did not actually add to the show notes, but caught my attention and is relevant to our conversation here. The Western Illinois University has not been wrong in their presidential election picks since 1975.
Mm-hmm.
Would you care to guess, since I did not put it in the show notes, would you care to guess who they have picked as
Sanders
for president? One for Sanders.
I would go, they are probably saying Clinton.
They are saying Sanders.
I'll take it. Yay. I'm glad to be wrong.
Even with the lead, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has in the polls, Senator Bernie Sanders has continued to garner support from small donors at historical pace, not seen in any previous election, even President Obama's election, which held the previous record. Could that be why the Western Illinois University just gave Senator Sanders a hell of a holiday gift? Introducing President Bernie Sanders, they say. Western Illinois University, the only entity that's predicted every single presidential election with 100% accuracy since 1975, just announced that its mock election results sent Senator Sanders and Martin O'Malley to the White House. So they think that O'Malley would be the VP, which we have said that he was definitely...
He was definitely angling.
He was way angling for that position, and I think he would make an excellent VP. I think he'd be very good for that. To the White House and in 2016. From Hollywood A-list stars to musicians to millennials, veterans, and even a small but growing crop of Republicans with some common sense, supporters feel the burn all over the demographic map. Senator Sanders is the single most electable candidate from either party, even after running a so-called long-shot bid to be nominated as the 2016 Democratic president.
Yeah. Sanders has universal appeal.
Yeah.
Which is what will aid him in a victory, especially against Trump. In that the GOP voters will look at their guy and go, it's either that or Sanders. And I don't want that more than I don't want Sanders. Where in a competition where it came down to Hillary Clinton versus Trump, they might say, I hate that bitch. Because they've got seriously 20 years of just Pavlovian conditioning that you say the name Clinton and they start frothing at the mouth.
Yeah. There's a long history there.
There is a lot of history there.
And division. But not so with senators.
Not so with Mr. Sanders, no.
Now, the really interesting thing about Bernie is that he's Jewish, and he's more of a secular Jew. He's not really like the uber practicing, Hanukkah and dreidel kind of guy, always talking about, I'm not seeing any Yiddish in his language choices at all. Just to go a little further there.
He doesn't say that he looks like a Shamil or he's got a fupa hanging out.
Yeah, there's none of that. None of that. And being from the Bronx and then Vermont, he's mellow, he's rational, and he's very for the people.
He's a sincere, good guy.
He's had the same views since the 60s. He's been consistent. So there's no flip-flopping. He's certainly the only one out there that hasn't flip-flopped in his entire political career. And though there are people out there, our current president, for instance, having evolved on certain issues like gay marriage and things like that, that kind of flip-flop is good. I admire people that are willing to say that they were wrong and they change their opinion. I'm very proud of them for doing that. Because
I equally admire people who come up with the right answer the first time and point to the evidence that they saw all along and said, you see, this is why I had this position 30 years ago, and that's still true today.
Yeah, it's like we're just catching up with what he thought.
Yeah.
So the current society that we live in is now perfectly idealized for a Bernie Sanders to reign over it for 8 years.
And that would be fantastic.
Keep your fingers crossed, everyone. And remember, if you actually want to take part in this wonderful political process of ours, you actually need to be registered as a Democrat in order to vote in the primaries and pick which one of the Democratic contenders is going to go against the GOP clown car, such as it is. So you still have time. Go ahead, re-register to vote, change your party affiliation to Democrat. That way you, too, can choose to feel the burn or to vote for your hill dog. You can do it, one way or the other.
My personal preference would be to see a Sanders-Clinton ticket.
That would pretty much sew it up, wouldn't it?
I think that would be... That was my original prediction, is to see a Sanders-Clinton ticket of one form or fashion or other. And I feel like they would beat the Republican contender, whoever it is, by a margin of at least 20 percentage points.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone would... Yeah, there would be no survivors.
There would be no survivors. It would be such... What happened when Romney lost last, people were reeling. Like, there were reports, Rachel Maddow called it, the right just got shellacked. Right? That would pale in comparison to the Sanders-Clinton ticket. It would be epic.
Well,
it would be, we won't see this for, another 2.5 centuries kind of loss.
As everything was coming in, I mean, I would really almost want to watch Fox News above all other coverage just to start watching them, like, down laced Kool-Aid and, like, see them dropping off because the numbers were so ridiculous. And there'd be nothing. It would blow their minds completely, based off of that.
We just lost Texas. we just lost Texas.
And no, we don't.
I just want to see that statement on
Mexico,
air.
We just lost Texas.
That's a statement I want to hear read on air. Texas voted blue.
In other news, Texas secession was back in the news. At least it was a talking point about there. Again, another thing that I didn't have in there. But I would just like to remind people that it's illegal for any state to actually secede from the Union. And thanks to Texas's unique situation, they are allowed by their own constitution and the agreement with the United States government that they are allowed to break into 4 separate states, which would change the voting demographic severely in the red
And
state, which is steadily turning blue.
And it would change the electoral college quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to break apart all of their massive pool of electoral college into probably 2 to 3 blue.
Yeah, it would have it at least.
Maybe 1 undecided and 1 red.
Yeah. Texas has always been a fairly independent kind of state. That whole Lone Star Republic thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry, guys. You really can't. And as much as most of us would say, go ahead, leave. No problem. We can do without you. It's okay. We have 49 other states. Maybe Puerto Rico will want to join and we'll go back up to 50 and keep all of our flags. That's fine. Go ahead. Do what you wish. We can't. Sorry. It's against
we can't, but they still could. They would just all be breaking the law to do it. And I, for one, would not be entirely opposed to adding, 20 or 30 million Texans to the felony boards and saying, yeah, well, you don't get to vote in our national elections anymore. So thanks for playing.
I don't know if that would fly. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I was born in Texas. Yeah.
Well, you're not there anymore.
I could be. My amazing brother is still in Texas.
Well, bad things happen to good people all the time. It's okay.
It would only be the people who actually took up arms against the federal government. And thanks to the information age, we probably know who those people were before the first shots were fired. So,
yeah.
I mean, it would really only be the most ardently right-wing that would get on those boards. Probably wouldn't be 20, 30 minutes.
Since my brother's a disabled vet who probably couldn't take up arms right now because he can't really grip things, he might not be in that group.
Might not.
Might not. So speaking of feeling the burn, I think Senator Sanders may feel the burn in a few other ways too, because apparently he has just introduced the first Senate bill in history to legalize marijuana. Not just marijuana for medicinal purposes, but for full-on recreational use.
I will say, as somebody who has never tried marijuana either medicinally or for recreational purposes, I personally have come a long way on this issue. And after doing all the research that I did on the internet, I've come to the conclusion that marijuana should not be illegal.
That's where I've come down on it too. And also, I did not inhale. I
didn't even light.
I legitimately did not. Yeah. So
it never touched my lips. Because, I mean,
I've had many opportunities throughout my life. But
yeah, there were opportunities. One of my older brothers went down a dark path of drugs, and I'm like, I share those genetics of possible addiction.
Addictive behavior.
And it ain't going to be me.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to have tried it to look at the states that have already legalized it fully and just look at the benefits economically. I mean, just economically. You want to talk about our economy and going through lulls and, we're just chugging along. How about we go through a boom?
And crime rates go down as well.
My impressions of... I came at it from the perspective of why was this made illegal in the first place? And basically...
There is a movie, and it is called Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
And that definitely started a propaganda for it.
Yes. And where a lot of that actually came from was actually the paper lobby.
Right, because of the massive uses of
hemp.
Hemp
is fantastic for making paper because it grows in a single season. You make a lot of paper out of it. It's sturdy, good quality paper, and the fir tree lobby, or that saw down fir trees, make paper out of that. They are the ones that basically drove to get it made illegal in the first place, and then to boot, it had psychedelic effects or whatever. That was just like.
But hemp itself does not.
Hemp itself does not until you add what is that crystalline shit they put on it for chronic.
Well, there's THC is the actual chemical component that actually gives you the high. But and feel free, all those out there that know these things far better than us, straight line, white bread, suburbanites that never did any of that. Go ahead and email that in, or tell us, inform us on all the benefits of hemp and how it's a different product than marijuana.
Well, I mean, one of the things that came out of Colorado with the THC or the marijuana dispensaries, is they're able to actually breed weed plants or marijuana, or what's the actual other herb? The other name for it.
Also, keep in mind
Cannabis?
that Washington State is also passed recreational marijuana laws the same year that Colorado did. Colorado simply got all the press because of the Rocky Mountain High thing, I guess.
Yeah, but they can actually breed the plant to the point where it no longer gets you high, but still has the medicinal value.
What's the fun of that? No, I'm kidding. No,
I mean,
it'd be fantastic that way. Yeah.
Yeah, plant-based medicine that you put in a pill is called medicine.
Yeah, alternative medicine that works is called medicine.
Yeah.
You can drop the alternative.
And they have plenty of studies affirming that there are medicinal uses for marijuana, which is why it should not be categorized as a Class 1 narcotic. Because a Class 1 narcotic, there are no medical uses possible for a Class 1 narcotic.
That is one of the defining factors in the definition. Now, also with a very simple thing, and that's one of the things that got me to really look at it more closely, was alcohol is legal. It's taxed highly, as a recreational thing. But boy, does it do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
With DUIs and you see, alcohol abuse, AA, all those recidivism rates, and, people getting drunk and getting angry and belligerent, and, we have, I don't think that any of us can ever say that we've never seen somebody drunk. Yeah. And that we've seen some people that are super happy drunks, and some people that are really awful, horrible people drunks.
Yes.
We've seen the wide range. And yet that's legal. And it's clearly a mind-altering substance.
Well, here's kind of the deal as far as, the other part of this puzzle.
Well, there's one other thing. If you drink a bottle of Jack Daniels, you're most likely going to die.
Yeah.
Drink the whole bottle, and you can. You're most likely going to die.
Another way you can die, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I used to work corrections. I was a deputy for the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. I worked in the jail. I've seen people withdraw from alcohol. The withdrawal off of alcohol can be bad. And I've seen people that have had to go to the hospital. I've seen people that have had seizures because of it. The physical withdrawal off of alcohol can be terrible. But I can go buy it right now.
Yeah. And then you have marijuana, which
you brought up prisons, which is actually where I was headed. The privatization of the prisons plays huge into why we have DUI laws that are so severe and why we have anti-marijuana laws which are so severe, because they're banking a profit off of these poor souls. I think it would cost us a whole hell of a lot less money that instead of handing out DUIs, why don't we just give people a lift home?
That would be fantastic. But then,
instead of sending them to jail, here's your ride home where you live. There you go. Pick up your car tomorrow.
That would be...
It would save us a boatload in legal fees.
That'd be the Andy Taylor thing to do. Where you'd have the town drunk just kind of check himself into the cell and let himself out in the morning when he needed to. That's the Andy Taylor, the happy days.
Sleep it off, go home, don't cause any problems. In random, if you want more information on medicinal benefits, all different kinds of information, probably differences between marijuana and hemp. I will do my best to see if I can maybe get my brother-in-law to send in an email, because when it comes down to just flat-out knowledge about that subject, he has it. He knows it.
It's good to have hobbies.
I wouldn't say necessarily it's his hobby. More, not necessarily obsession, like in between there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he is extremely knowledgeable. You know, he might be able to send some things in, have some thoughts that we missed, and a little bit more information. But if he can send an email in, and I know my sister's listening right now, so tell him to stop being lazy and let's do this.
Okay, enough about feeling the burn. We have some other things to talk about, and that would be Google and NASA. They've teamed up, and Google bought a little company called D-Wave.
Yeah.
Is making quantum computers. Like
We have talked about D-Wave in the past.
Yeah, more quantum computers, and now, thanks to their collaboration with NASA. Well, from the article out on VentureBeat, if we go down to the source, Google appears to be more confident about the technical capabilities of its D-Wave 2X quantum computer, which it operates alongside NASA at the U.S. Space Agency's Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California. D-Wave's machines are the closest thing we have to quantum computing, which works with quantum bits or qubits. I always want to say qubert in there. I got to have qubert in there somewhere. Which can be 0 or 1 or both, instead of more conventional bits. The superposition of these qubits enables machines to make great numbers of computations simultaneously, making a quantum computer highly desirable for certain types of processes. Now, that's one thing that is worth of note, is that for some things, quantum computers are actually slower than what we have in just what I'm staring at all of you with, the computer in front of me. It can do certain calculations way faster than a quantum computer could. However, this particular quantum computer, for certain things, is 100 times faster than what I'm looking at. And that's something. Oh, I'm sorry. Not 100 times. What was I thinking? We're talking Google here. No, it's 100 million times faster than a regular computer chip for certain applications. Caveat, asterisk, for certain applications. See offers.
Yes.
See office for details, does not apply.
For running Microsoft Word, it's not going to do any better.
Yeah, not so much. Probably worse, actually.
I think it would be worse out of spite. Like, why are you running Microsoft Word on me? I could be mapping a genome right now. Like, it would be so spiteful.
It'd be angry. At you.
The machine's inner AI would reject your.
It's like I've already looked at your writing habits.
Why is it always in Wingdings?
It's like
I didn't even select Wingdings.
Nice. It's like I've technically already written every document that you're ever going to write already.
Technically, that's somewhere in Pi.
Yeah, it's there already.
It's the numeric stretch that includes your entire life story and everything you've ever done.
Man, talk about being marginalized.
Because as an
it's
infinitely long number, every possible number combination exists within Pi.
Google Director of Engineering Hartmut Naveen went over the results of the tests in a blog post. Quote, "We found that for problem instances involving nearly 1,000 binary variables, quantum annealing significantly outperforms its classical counterpart. Simulated annealing, I guess that's quantum annealing versus simulated annealing. It is more than 10 to the 8th times faster than simulated annealing running on a single core. We also compared the quantum hardware to another algorithm called Quantum Monte Carlo. This is a method designed to emulate the behavior of quantum systems, but it runs on conventional processors. While the scaling and size between the two methods is comparable, they are again separated by a large factor, sometimes as high as 10 to the 8th. Google has also published a full-on paper on these findings, which you can find if you dig through the notes again on our webpage at ORlyRadio.com for show, what was this, 87? Yeah, 87. Gotta check sometimes. If nothing else, this is a positive signal for venture-backed D-Wave, which has also sold quantum computers to Lockheed Martin and the Los Alamos National Laboratory. At an event at NASA Ames today, where reporters looked at the D-Wave machine, Chief Executive Vern Brownwell sounded awfully pleased at the discovery. I would be too. Without question, the number 100 million is impressive. It's certainly the kind of thing that startups can show when it attempts to woo IT by show why its technology might well succeed in disrupting legacy chipmakers such as Intel. I'm actually surprised that Intel hasn't really ventured into the quantum realm. Maybe they have, but they just haven't hit any successes enough to advertise them. I'm sure they probably have to.
They make a boatload of money off the personal computer, which nothing's going to replace that for a good long time. I mean, the D-Wave technology is exciting, but the technical hurdles to getting that down in size to where it'll function in a desktop size environment is just staggering. And then it still has to be made to work better with the applications that the average desktop user is going to use, none of which are likely to happen very soon.
Well, there's many things like your work desktop machine that you probably have to do the wage slave thing at all day long. It does Office just fine, and then the machine you have at home, which will play Crysis or Fallout 4 at high res. It too will do Office just as well as that business machine, but your business machine won't be able to play those games.
Right.
So you have to have, it's specialized hardware. So I don't know.
Until it can do the things in the Office environment or the home PC environment as well or better at a price point which is not redonkulous. There's really no point in pursuing that path. And that's really Intel's bread and butter.
Well, they have been trying very desperately to break into the mobile market.
Yeah, there's that.
Intel wants to be everywhere. They want to be in the mobile phone market. They want to be in the tablet market.
They want to be in the classical chip market. The place where I'm surprised we haven't seen any quantum computers come out of is actually IBM. Because they do a phenomenal amount of work still with supercomputers.
Yeah, well, their supercomputers they're doing classical parallel processing.
They're doing classical parallel, but there comes a time where classical parallel and quantum working together might be something that they'd want to try. Because in the types of computations that they're doing, they would actually see a benefit to doing that.
Well, for calculations, yeah, but what IBM is predominantly working on now is not big number crunching as much as they are big data processing.
It's all the same thing, though.
No, it's not.
A little bit.
Well, there's quantum in being able to do a calculation, but then there's physically sifting through all that information, and that's what they're doing. And that's where the multiple parallel processing really comes into play, because they can, with what we saw with Watson, winning Jeopardy and things like that, it is pulling all that information at once, essentially.
Yeah, but it's also that's one of those things where
sure.
We don't know what quantum computing is going to be able to do for us in that avenue, that arena.
Yeah, and that's one of the funny things about the D-Wave system is, yes, it's amazingly powerful. Yes, it sits there and it's an amazing black obelisk of a cube that does amazing things. You input something and it puts out a lot of other things very quickly. But what are you going to do with it? There's no real... Well, they've had to build the operating system that a quantum computer can even run on.
Yeah.
Because we're not
equipped with one that works on that yet.
Our mind space doesn't work in methods that even come close to that. You have to have a theoretical quantum physicist to then somehow develop a software package that will then somehow run applications that might or might not be compatible.
Right. As I understand it, the NSA uses some quantum computers, and they can pretty much just break encryption over their knee.
Maybe, though that could be a little tinfoil hattery too.
with these reports like these of its ability to perform immense calculations 100 million times faster than a desktop PC, I would say that's the kind of calculation we've been talking about is necessary to just dominate the encryption algorithms as they stand today, without the backdoors. And the NSA, as we know, has been very successful at getting backdoors put into encryption systems,
right? Yeah,
and operating systems, and even all the way down to the hardware level of our desktop computers. There are backdoors for the NSA. So
famously, the RSA secure tokens, for instance, all had a. I think there was a particular like Diffie.
Their release was delayed until the NSA signed off on it, which means they knew something about it that we don't know.
Well, no, there are many different encryption methods that RSA could use and can still be used and chosen throughout its database.
Mm-hmm.
However, the one that came defaulted was the one that was easiest to break. So the tyranny of the default is what the NSA had perpetrated there, because most people aren't going to fuck with it. They're just going to make it. That's going to be it out of the package. That's all they.
But it is an organization that also hires some of the smartest minds as far as math goes.
Yeah.
So I mean, if there's anybody who can break a code or knows how to program a quantum computer, I would believe that the NSA would have that guy.
They want them. They most certainly want them. And, well, if I'm to be completely honest, they want them to have them. You know, because that is where our national security lies. And I would like to think that we have enough people like Edward Snowden out there that are going to say, you know, that's not the right thing to do. And ethically, even if they don't whistleblow it, they would overlook it and not see that thing that happened. And not let it go on to its eventual mushroom cloud kind of explosion of horrible things.
Well, I'll call it the Oppenheimer effect. Oppenheimer created he was the head guy for the nuclear bomb, and he really pursued that under the belief that he would create something so terrible it would end all wars forever.
Yeah.
Obviously not.
Well,
that's not really how it shook out in the end. And even
our ability to hurt ourselves.
Even or more modern day story. There's a guy who built a drone in his garage, ran off of a go-kart motor. That drone that he built in his garage would later become the Predator drone. And he never, ever intended for it to carry armaments and take part in drone strikes. That was never in his intention, which is why he agreed to give the interview and talk about how he developed that thing in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it is used in ways that people who, there are a lot of bright people out there who develop things and have zero concept of the way that everything that they create is a double-edged sword. Yes, it gave all kinds of great capabilities, but it can just as easily be turned in ways that you never expected.
Yeah, they look at it in that very narrow line where, how could this serve man? Not.
It's like, how could you create this? Look what it's done to humanity. And it's like, I'm sorry, I was too busy building it to really think about what it would actually do.
Well, I think everybody kind of has that narrow mindset. The person that's developing something is developing it for whatever reason he sees, but like the military will always have people employed that are like, okay, I can see what they were doing, but I can use it like this, and I'm going to use it like this. And so everyone has their narrow focus. It's just which narrow focus is currently focused on the product being developed.
Yeah.
It was an interesting conversation that's actually out on YouTube. I'll have to find it. And it's between the head of DARPA went over to Japan to pitch to their bright minds to develop an exosuit. And being that he's from DARPA and Japan is Japan, and a lot of the researchers that were working on this were actually working on it for the medical industry. They want to help people. And they were like, we don't want to build a militarized exosuit for you. And he basically turned around and he said, you know, that's fine and all, but if you guys develop an exosuit for medical usage, I can guarantee you that it will be adapted to military usage at some point in some form or fashion.
Yeah, it's not an if, it's when.
It's that that march of technology is, if you create it, someone will find a way to use it to kill somebody else. And that rule is difficult to break.
Yeah, I am reminded, ever so subtly of the parents that spend all the time child-proofing their home.
Yeah.
And they do that. They put the little rubber baby bumpers on everything to make sure that they don't poke their eye out or anything. And then what do? They give them sharpened sticks. AKA
Oh yeah, pencils.
Pencils to write with. And it's like, you can kill yourself very easily with a pencil.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
You can kill someone else with a pencil. I know when I worked at the jail, there was a situation where one inmate killed another with a pencil. So anything that you develop can be used to hurt or kill someone else. As simple as the pencil.
I remember on Mythbusters, they made a paper mache crossbow, and they used a pencil as the arrow, and it was surprisingly accurate. In that jail room, the jailhouse breakout Mythbuster episode.
Nice.
It just crazy things, yeah. So our desire to hurt other people, it's kind of inborn. We're going to do that. So we need to grow beyond our more baser instincts, as it were.
The desire to hurt other people always seems to be born of a... We think we're protecting ourselves by hurting that other person, and it's like, no, they're not trying to hurt us, they're trying to protect themselves. If we could just keep that distance, we'll be good.
How about everybody just turn around and walk away and
put the pencils down, stop stabbing. This is not performance art. It's not going to...
So would you say all of our issues in the Middle East are all about personal space?
Personal space. Get out of my bubble.
I love that. That'd be perfect. And speaking of personal space, I do have a space invader that would like to make a mention here.
Hello, this is Candace Snitch the Goblin, and you're listening to the ORly Radio Podcast. It's not for idiots. And since you're not an idiot either, please check out the Kickstarter for my very intelligent, family-friendly card game, Hogswallow, on Kickstarter now at hogswallow.wicked-clever.com.
Hi, ORly Radio listeners. This is your host, Andy Cowen, calling my voicemail to make sure that it still works. Please consider calling us, 470-222-6759. Bye.
So there was something else that could not be ignored, and that would be, of course, Donald Trump. There's a very, very right-leaning website called thefederalist.com, and there's just an amazing article. I mean, it's an op-ed. It's an opinion piece by one Mr. Paul David Miller. This was out December 8th, should you be looking out at the Federalist. And it's titled the rather inflammatory, at least to those that are progressive and not perhaps on the GOP side, How the Left Created Donald Trump.
Right.
Which is nearly exactly the opposite of what we actually have been spouting for a long time, of how the Tea Party essentially brought the clown car kind of aspect of the current electorate cycle to the fore.
Well, I mean, this Trump comes out of 30 to 40 years of carefully fostering a xenophobic, hate-filled, racist base who respond exceedingly well in polls to the things that he says, which are hateful, racist, and xenophobic.
Mhm.
So,
Now,
I don't see where the left or progressives or liberals had anything to do with the current situation in the right wing regarding Trump.
there are some amazing things that are in this this particular op-ed, and I will say something about Mr. Paul Miller. He is well spoken. He uses all the right big words, and he uses them in the right order and in the right context, and he forms a narrative that is quite believable, which makes him absolutely perfect for fitting into the GOP. Because one thing that I've noticed in watching this election cycle very carefully is that the GOP, if you didn't know things, if you didn't have an awareness, a situational awareness of the world and the way things are, the things they say make sense. And that's a problem. Because the people that are not aware, that are not educated, that are not paying any attention to the way the world has become, are eating it up. Because it makes sense from their perspective. And in this particular ideological rant that he has here is well spoken. It sounds very intelligent. But there are buzzwords in there that, for those that are aware, cause all sorts of trigger warnings that this is complete bullshit. For instance, there's a nice little line in there. Progressivism is a fundamentalist religion. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Say no, it's not.
It's kind of.
I really
exactly
feel
the
like
opposite.
what the GOP does, and this is anecdotal, it's just my experience and kind of watching how they react to things over time, is they take the accusations which have been leveled against them at various times, and they spin them around in these truly insane arguments, such as the one that we are reading today, and say, "Oh no,
I don't know that.
Look at those guys. They're a fundamentalist religious cult."
It says another of the little bylines, because what they'll do in these standard articles is they'll take a snippet out and they'll put it in the margins in a different text and highlight it in red or whatever, and the gods of progressivism are individual autonomy, self-fulfillment, and self-expression. Like that's a bad thing. I like individual autonomy.
I thought that they were all for freedom.
And I like self-expression. But if you bounce from one of those to the next and ignore all the text in between, you kind of see where they're going with it. So it was the gods of progressivism are individual autonomy, self-fulfillment, and self-expression. And then the next one down is, in this view of the world, evil takes the form of any barrier to your self-expression. And then the biggest failing of a moderate and a conservative response is that it doesn't articulate what's wrong with progressivism. And then, here's something that I haven't heard. Trumpism, like progressivism, is deeply illiberal and dangerous for democracy. So even this guy is saying that, and this is what we see all over the place, is that, no, Donald's the wrong guy. We do not want him at all. It's just he's displacing blame and putting it on the progressive side, on the Democrats, that we created him.
The very last line in this article, the author advises Marco Rubio's campaign for president. So if you can make Trump look bad and the left look bad all in one shot, well, I guess that helps the guy who you're advising his campaign for. At least in your own mind, because Marco Rubio has been dead in the water for a while.
Long time. Here's the part that I like. Trump attracts followers with his angry rejection of the code and his refusal to grant progressives the high ground they so presumptuously claim. The more politically incorrect Trump gets, saying things that would compel other politicians to resign in disgrace, the stronger his base supports him. His base is the GOP electorate. Those are the polls that he is winning. So,
yeah, you're not going to
the
find
electorate that you have fostered responds positively to his angry rejection of the code and refusal to grant progressives the high ground they so presumptuously claim.
I think their problem is that he's not as good or just doesn't care to hide the hate speech the way they do. They don't resign when they say these things. They just disappear for a month and then come out with another piece of legislation that's hate speech and more crap. Nobody's resigning from the GOP. They just keep rolling on, gerrymander the districts, and win another election. Nobody's resigning.
That's not entirely true. There are a ton of GOP politicians who get caught in having gay sex scandals who do end up leaving on unfriendly terms with their super religious white male heterosexual homophobic asshole leadership.
In their right-wing, ultra-conservative Christian doctrine, they still have to nail people to crosses occasionally.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to have a sacrificial lamb to show that the rest are still going to make it.
They cull their herd
every
once in a while. And if you're one of them gays, you're not really welcome.
Paul D. Miller is the Associate Director of the Clements Center for National Security at the University of Texas at Austin and a Research Fellow at the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. He received his Ph.D. in International Relations from Georgetown University and is also a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. Well, thank you for your service, sir, but you're still an idiot. There's some amazing things in here, including things like attacking microaggressions, and political pandering, and the crybaby kind of everybody needs a trophy kind of aspect of.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that has become a thing, and I really want it to go away. But that's hard. At least that comes from a place of trying to make everybody equal and have a feeling of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Where he's coming from, I think he'd rather have many more people sink than swim.
Here we go again with it. Trump makes sweeping statements with firmness and conviction, tenaciously holding on even when they are proven false, which is attractive to Americans who are sick of progressive self-serving narrative about how everyone is wrong except them. When you push a narrative which has been proven false and then stick to it, you add credibility to progressives who say that you are wrong. If I tell you a lie, and you outright call me on that lie, I am wrong, and you are right. That's pretty much where that should end. And if I stick to that lie, I'm a liar.
Yes, I think what you're like this goes right in line with what you said earlier about their it's taking what is said about them, twisting it around, and then shooting it back the other way. And I think you may have just created another logical fallacy, or the Republicans did, and literally it should be called the "I'm rubber, you're glue" logical fallacy.
Yeah.
Because as you read through, like you said, the Republican Party is at least still fighting for its soul. But aside from Trump, it is a tired old fight, business conservatives advocating for smaller government so they can make a buck. They're putting themselves off like they're the victim in this. And when you look at like all of these things that are being said, it's like, wait, that's what you guys do. You're just mad because he's doing it better and you want to cry about it and then blame the left.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that.
It's the projection logical fallacy.
Let's see. I think it's Well, maybe the fallacy. You presumed that because a claim has been poorly argued, or a fallacy has been made, that the claim itself then must be wrong. Not quite.
No, that's not quite it.
They're always wrong, and they just assume they're right.
It's not that there are times when the GOP is right. We'll say it right here. There are times when they do get it right. However, the times where they get it wrong, they do not own. They refuse to own the times that they get it wrong. And instead of owning it and saying, you know what, we made a mistake, but we learned, and we're going to move forward from there, or saying, yeah, this was the position that I held, and here's the evidence that I was working with at the time that I held that position, but I was presented with new evidence, and so I have a new position on this.
I think I found it. It's called the tu quoque. To avoid having to engage with criticism by turning it back on the accuser, you answered criticism with criticism. Literally translating as the you too, this fallacy is also known as the appeal to hypocrisy. It is commonly employed as an effective red herring because it takes the heat off someone having to defend their argument instead and shifts the focus back on to the person making the criticism.
This whole article is basically somebody who is right-wing saying, even though people who vote for the GOP respond well to this fascist guy and respond well to his hate speech and respond well to his xenophobia, we're not the actual racists or xenophobes. That's really the liberals.
Absolutely. So I've added the tu quoque logical fallacy directly beneath this particular article in our show notes available out at our.
That's beautiful.
I can't say that word or phrase, so the I'm rubber, you're glue logical fallacy.
That works. Yeah. It's
tu coke.
It's the U2 fallacy. No, it's
it's tu quoque. Tu quoque.
Tu quoque. Yeah.
Tu quoque.
Tu quoque. It has a pronunciation guide there. Tookwokee. Tu quoque. But I think the U2 fallacy, I think that works too. So yeah, well, you too. You did it too. She did it too, or whatever. That kind of thing. So that's always fun. I love that.
So, I might be able to do something cool here.
You have something cool? I like cool.
Quoque.
Tu quoque. Was that Google Translate or something? Or?
That was Merriam-Webster.
Merriam-Webster.
Tu quoque.
Yes.
Tu quoque.
There you go. You learned something this evening, and I think that makes us better people for it. So enjoy. Let's see. We got a couple more here, and then we will let everyone go. China has apparently decided to get in the super large hadron collider business, and they're going to build what they've referred to as or somebody has referred to as a Higgs factory at twice the size of CERN's Large Hadron Collider. It's going to be big.
As much as I dislike China's government, I am all for their push into the sciences and really elevating their country to a new status, more so than just, uneducated rice farmer.
The loop for the collider is going to be 100 kilometers long, which is longer than the LHC at CERN.
Big old collider.
Is freaking huge. Yeah, it's major. It's major stuff. Now, apparently, we did, in the United States, we actually did have I think it was the something super collider. I can't remember what it was called, but it had like a kind of a catchy name. And it was basically destroyed in budget talks with Congress.
No, of course.
But apparently it was more powerful, or at least it had the potential for a higher output than the LHC, as it was already built. And that was like a decade ago. But, oh well.
Maybe we just outsourced it to China.
Basically.
In the long run.
Basically.
I do have a question. It's just a random question, and it is because sometimes I am a little bit on the not as smart side. In here, it does say that basically they made it this big because they're looking to try and make a factory for making the Higgs bosons.
Mm-hmm.
And that what they want to do is be able to give theoretical physicists data for their hypotheses. Right now, they're theoretical. If they have data, wouldn't they just be physicists? They're just changing their whole job title now. Way to go, China. Thanks for screwing that up.
Taking the theoretical out of theoretical physicists and just making them physicists.
Physicists, like regular old physicists.
They have
more
to.
of them.
Well, they have to figure out.
They would just then be particle physicists, I think, at that point.
Yeah, they will transition into new roles and will receive re-education at the FEMA camps. So it'll be good.
As long as they can stay specialized, and we're not just lumping all these physicists together.
Oh no!
I mean, everyone's worried about robots taking over. I'm worried about physicists taking over.
There's always room for another chair at the department.
Yep.
I am the chair of the theoretical physicist department of particles. Or whatever.
Yeah.
No,
they're going to provide a lot of data, which is great, but it's going to be the theoretical physicists who figure it out who turn themselves into physicists.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be an inexpensive proposition. So,
it's important work.
It will not be completed until 2018 and work will begin in 2020, by which time China hopes to have recruited physicists from around the world to staff the project. The location of the scheme has not been decided, but Wang has suggested, oh wow, and there's a big Chinese word that I'm going to have to try.
Quinhuangdao?
Quinhuangdao? I don't know.
If you say it fast, it works.
Yeah, exactly. Just let it roll off the tongue. It'll be fine. It's a northern port city near the start of the Great Wall. Thank you very much, writer of this article, for giving us a more geographic reference for where that is. Yifeng Wang is the director of the Institute of High Energy Physics in Beijing, who proposed the accelerator.
Awesome.
So
you the man.
Exactly.
Look at the Wang on this guy.
Now, it's 100 kilometers round.
Now, the thing about, if you have a bigger collider and you have the ability to put more energy into it, the closer you get to the actual environment of the Big Bang. So you just have to keep pouring more and more energy into it. And the longer that you can make those runs, the more energy that you can continue to provide those particles to make them go faster and faster and faster and faster. Up until, I mean, they're already running at partial speed of light, near speed of light velocities already. And as they continue to make them go faster, they create more kinetic energy for them to bang into other protons. I think it's protons that they're supposed to be running into. And every time they do that, they create a massive amount of data. So creating a boson factory, that's all well and good. And really, their main thing, they're going to just simply need more particle physicists to go through all the data. Because there's already a stack of data at CERN that still has to be gone through.
Let's get these quantum computers going.
That's right.
May be the point. They're going to need the quantum computers, so we can just ship them over to CERN or ship them over to this new, what are we calling it, the IHEP, the Institute for High Energy Physics in Beijing.
IHEP. And they're going to need power generation. Speaking of power generation, that was in March of this year that Lockheed Skunk Works announced that they would have a workable fusion reactor in 5 years.
Yeah.
So they'll have 4 years left by the time this thing's completed to have clean energy to run it on.
I saw a story. I would have to find the link. It was they have already produced plasma from helium, and they're getting ready to work on producing it from hydrogen. And I cannot remember who's doing it, but they're already working on fusion. It wasn't Lockheed though. It was another.
Well, there's a fusion reactor they've been building for the past few years that they were just about ready to spin up. I think somewhere in France.
That may have been where it was.
It could come from France. That's possible.
I mean, France has more nuclear than anybody else.
I've just pulled it up on the city of Qinghangdao over in China, where the proposed location is, and yeah, it's a beautiful port city. In fact, it's on an enormous bay, so I imagine that it would be. Oh, okay. It's in the same latitude as basically like right in the center of North Korea, if that helps. And it's also right in line roughly with Beijing. So if that helps anybody with their latitudes and how cold it's actually going to be there. Actually, not that cold, probably. Spain, North Spain, roughly somewhere there. So yeah, it might actually be a really nice place to visit to go get your high energy particle physics done.
Woohoo!
The fusion device.
Kind of vacation that would be.
Yeah. I found the story on the fusion device. I can get the link to Andy, but it is the Wendelstein 7X fusion device is now in operation. On December 10th, 2015, the first helium plasma was produced in the Wendelstein 7X fusion device at the Max Planck Institute for Plasma Physics in Greifswald. After more than a year of technical preparations and tests, experimental operation has now commenced according to plan. Wendelstein 7X, the world's largest stellarator-type fusion device, will investigate the suitability of this type of device for a power station.
Oh, and this came out, the article which you're quoting, I just found it was released December 10th, so this is brand new information. So good stuff, and I will put that directly into the show notes before we talk about our main
Germany
headline.
So Germany,
yes.
But they do mention in there that it's also, there is another one in Garching, the tokamak ASDEX upgrade. Yeah, that one is also. They said that the one in the Wendelstein is actually, it can maintain the energy longer than the tokamaks can. At least off of the helium plasma. They haven't gotten to the hydrogen yet. They're getting ready to do that.
We are getting there, people. We're getting there.
We are.
Energy for everyone. But right now, I don't want to talk about energy for everyone. No, I want to talk about something that really kind of hits closer to home. This is a serious issue, I believe, that all Americans, all true red-blooded Americans, need to be concerned with.
It's extremely serious.
It's very serious. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, Japan is selling sliced chocolate.
Like, imagine American cheese.
Yeah, like American.
But it's chocolate.
It's chocolate. It's sliced, individual serve, 2 millimeter thick chocolate slices.
Kraft Singles Chocolate Edition.
Developed by a company called Bourbon, a well-known Japanese brand that specializes in chocolate and confections. These slices make life oh so convenient. Each pack contains 5 slices that are 2 millimeters thick. The slices are made of Nama chocolate, which is a thick chocolate that's made with an intense combination of high-quality cocoa and cream. Nama chocolate is almost like a solid ganache, which means that these slices are definitely rich and full flavor.
Oh, man.
A flat slice means that the chocolate is easy to use for baking and decorating. Roll it up and make a chocolate rose, pinch it out and make it a shapes for crackers, kudaits, which I've probably butchered, or my favorite, as the article says, make it into a bear. I don't know why that's a thing, but
place it into a cup of hot cocoa and watch the bear melt into oblivion, like Major Todd in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wow.
By the way, this article is out on the Nerdist.com, so Of course, little things like that are going to pepper the articles.
This is quite literally the greatest thing since sliced bread, which if you combine with this chocolate, makes a diabetes sandwich.
Wilford Brimley.
I'm here to talk to you about diabetes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you because I'm eating sliced chocolate. Seeing as how you can only buy it in bulk bundles of 1 dozen 5-slice packs, you get 60 pieces of chocolate that you can't tell me not to eat in one sitting.
Pretty much.
Which is
Can I just roll this into a log?
You certainly could. Then you could roll it downstairs.
And over chairs. Even the neighbor's dog.
Oh.
For that dozen 1 dozen 5-slice packs, that's a mere pittance, $27. You know, for really high quality chocolate, that is nothing.
Yeah, that's a really good deal if it's as good as they're saying it is.
Surprisingly good deal on the pre-sliced packaged chocolate.
I'm just going to go ahead and send this link over to Claire and be like, you know what? I know you've already got my Christmas gift picked out, but my birthday is in February.
Bread is buttered on.
And exchanging chocolate happens right after my birthday in the form of Valentine's Day. And fuck Russell Stover.
There's a gallery of delicious confections that are made with said articles of sliced chocolate.
I'm excited that I can finally have chocolate which I can wrap around bacon.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Kick it up a notch.
I don't know if you've ever had it before, but I mean they make a chocolate covered bacon. There's I know of a bakery over in Tampa that does it. They do a tempered chocolate on these thick pieces of bacon. You'd sell your children to get it, honestly. There's a good case for selling your own children to have enough money to pay for this.
I don't have any, so I'll have to settle for Soul.
I mean, you could just kidnap somebody else's children, get the ransom, and then buy. And then when the cops came, you'd be like, I was just trying to get chocolate-covered bacon. And they'd be like, oh, okay, you're good.
It's like, oh, wow.
Well, I mean, you can always make... It's pretty easy to make bacon. It's pretty easy to get some good chocolate. So I like making my own shit when it comes to...
To avoid kidnap. My favorite part of this article is that the chocolate slices are amazing, but the related post where it says Japan will sell gold Kit Kat for the holidays because sure, why not? I want sliced chocolate and I want a golden Kit Kat. I love Japan.
Yeah.
I do really like Japan. Yeah, especially when they do the weird stuff like this. Of course, they would probably sell it right next to like the dried squids or something like that. That you're supposed to eat those as just
got a bad case of the squids.
But yeah, no.
As long as they're clearly marked. Yeah.
Chocolate and maybe like a lychee drink. I think that would be good. But
there's a video of these two girls eating some sort of like soft serve ice cream.
Stop right there. No, you've already got.
Because there was a cup involved, and you're killing me, Smalls.
It came out of a condom shaped dispenser. So you snip the tip off of the condom, and this white ice cream comes shooting out. And it's probably the funniest video I've ever seen in my life.
I'm not sure we're thinking about the same video.
2 girls, 1 prophylactic?
No, this is... I'm not talking about 2 girls, 1 cup. That is abomination. But I am talking about... Oh my god.
Well, we are getting to picks of the week here. I'm going to say that 2 girls, 1 cup is not my pick.
Nope.
And nor should it be anyone's pick, ever. You're a bad person if you give that as a pick, and also if you show your grandmother and then like record her reactions to it, you're an equally bad person. However, please put that on YouTube because it's awesome. Anyway, moving right along, my pick is the book Red Shirts by John Scalzi. It is a terribly amusing book. It is a bit meta. Essentially, it's about the rest of the people on, say, a Starship Enterprise kind of outfit. Not the people that are on the bridge, not the bridge crew, the people that are in the main cast. No. It's not about them. It's about the other people, the people that make the ship go. It's about them. But it gets a little meta. In fact, it gets really meta. And it may break the fourth wall a little bit. It's really good. And I've enjoyed Scalzi's Old Man's War series, and just in his writing, he makes me laugh. There's very few authors that genuinely can get me to guffaw over a book, and he's got it. Something about his writing is magical in that way. So I highly recommend Red Shirts by John Scalzi. I listened to the audiobook as narrated by Will Wheaton, and he did a splendid job, and I think that really it's kind of the role that he's been typecast in. So it works well for him.
If Will Wheaton reads a book that's Enterprise-esque, that breaks the fourth wall, is that breaking another wall that we didn't even know? Like, is that a fifth wall?
Did I mention it was meta? Because it's meta. It is hyperspace meta.
That's more meta than I might be able. I don't think they've invented the equation for that amount of meta.
We will need the D-Wave X2 to come up with the proper equations for this for this level of meta. So that's mine. David, do you have a pick?
Oh, it's in there.
Oh,
it's
the
condom ice cream video, and it's amazing. If all you got to do is fast forward to 1 minute and prepare to cry from laughter.
I want to click it, I do, but I don't at the same time.
You want to click it.
I will leave that to our astute and intelligent listening audience to go ahead and go out and find that YouTube link embedded deep, so deep in the show notes for this episode 87. Fred, you also have a link, I see. What is it that you have?
Actually, I have two picks. One is also in the literary world. I watched a movie called Gone Girl, based off of a book. The book is by Gillian Flynn, and I really just kind of want to prop her up. She is my latest literary love. She is amazing. She has 3 books out. The first one was called Sharp Objects. The second one was called Dark Places. And then obviously Gone Girl is her most recent and the third. I am waiting for anything else she puts out. The books are amazing, the way she writes. There's something in them that draws me in. I read them like immediately. I can't let go of them. They make you uncomfortable. They make you think. For example, Sharp Objects is about a journalist who has to go back home to her hometown to cover a series of murders that is happening that nobody seems to be able to put a link to, and basically she's dealing with the family that ostracized her and made her want to leave town, and she's a self-harmer. So there's a lot of uncomfortable things that you're dealing with through this narrative of this person as she's trying to do her job, but deal with her family, that situation and going back home into a really non-loving family situation. And for someone in that situation, you need people that will support you, and there's a level of uncomfortability that as you're reading it, you're like, people really go through this. It's fiction, but it rings so true. And all 3 of her books, it's like that in every single one of them. And I just think that if people aren't aware of her as an author, they should be. They should probably seek her out, give it a shot, and see where they, see what they think on what she's putting out.
And that's Gillian Flynn, Flynn.
And then the second thing, really, in less than a week, people, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Be there. Just be there. Find tickets. Do what you got to do to get them. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be epic. I love what J.J. Abrams did with the Star Trek, I guess, reboot or other alternate dimension. And I am excited as hell to see what he does with this new non-canon but kind of canon stuff that he's going to be doing in Star Wars.
Well, it's all going to be its own unique canon from then on, so we'll just take what we can get, I think, at this point. Because we need more. We need more Star Wars, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I put a link in for Amazon's picks on all of Gillian Flynn's works, so you can go find her and peruse and get all the Kindle copies or whatever you need to of Gillian Flynn's. And, of course, Star Wars. Now a major motion picture showing everywhere very soon. And I think with that, you have spent a large amount of time with us, and I can't thank you enough. So with that, I think that it is that time again. All right, that's it for tonight. We'll be back next Friday about 9:30 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, the conversations continue on the web. Head over to ORlyRadio.com. That's ORLY radio.com for all the links right at the top of the page. And do watch us live and chat in the IRC if you can. If you've liked what we've done here, you can help keep the lights on. You can follow the Help Us link right on the webpage, and that'll take you over to patreon.com/Cowen, C-O-W-E-N, or patreon.com/Cowen, C-O-W-E-N. That's me, by the way, and you can support all the things that I do right there. If that's too rich for you, completely understand, but hey, you can contribute to the show with topic ideas, corrections, advertising offers, unclaimed lottery tickets, hate mail, and unsolicited advice by emailing them to us at ORlyRadioPodcast@gmail.com. You can also leave a voicemail at 470-222-6759. You can also leave a text message. I'll read those too. Posting and voting on stories on our subreddit, also an option. And hey, how about you go to wherever you found us and leave a glowing 5-star review on whatever platform that was. And of course, how about you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Can't thank you enough for spending some time with us tonight. And until next time, this has been ORly Radio, part of the Cowen Services Network. Music for the show was created by Kevin MacLeod of Comtech.com. Bye, everybody!
Goodbye.